Doreen, she has organized a conference today here in Toronto, Canada. Chuma cha Yesu, and a lot of personalities you will identify. So Doreen, please, what's the conference about?
Oh, it's about climate change and gender, and we are looking to engage and involve women in the climate crisis, like action against the climate crisis. Because, for example, we know back home, if there is a drought and there's no food in the garden,
Yes.
children will cry for the mother. The mother will walk longer routes to look for water, you know?
Yes.
And these are things people never understand that are the result of climate change, right?
Okay.
So I will also want women to be involved in the decision making.
Yes.
In terms of action against the climate crisis. So it's things of involving women. We want to be involved in action against climate change.
I know you've organized some other conferences. What the gender-based violent one? So you're really into women causes.
Yeah, the one of September 1st to 4th. It is about ending gender-based violence. We all know it's a vice that is killing women, but women are shy to speak. So how do we empower ourselves to speak? One, two, how do we empower ourselves to seek support? So me and women issues, we are very, very close.
When is the one for gender-based violence, and what should people expect?
It's during the week of 1st to September 2023, and it will be at the Marriott Hotel, Dixon Road, near Pearson Airport. We expect delegates from like all over the world. We have had a hiccup in this particular one. A lot of delegates got their visas last
Wow,
week.
so this is actually an international
It's an
conference. I thought we are only
It's
Torontonians here.
international. We have people from Cambodia, we have people from Malawi, we have Pakistan, but most of them are contacting me now. They're like, we've just been asked to put in our passports. And yeah, so we are hoping September the visa issue will be catered for, since we still have some time.
Which artists are coming this time? Do you have an artist?
We had a lot of organizations that bring artists, so we will not have a major artist in our event, but there are different people bringing. There's Waiki Benda coming, there's Winnie Nwaji, Mama Pikmoff is bringing, so we can support those other organizations that are bringing artists. But for us,
I know for your own last year you brought Message Semakula.
yes, I brought Message Semakula, but this year it is just a conference.
Okay. And who is the surprise artist for tonight?
Tonight we have Keko. She's supposed to come in. Then we have Jay. He's going to play the saxophone. Then we have Jimmy. He's on the piano for the soothing music. Like I want it to be so soothing and something different, if I may use that word.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for
problem.
uplifting women and the Ugandan community in Toronto, Canada.
Thank you so much.
That's the idea when it comes to climate action and climate advocacy. So we're starting with a quote by Dr. Vandana Shiva. Has anybody heard of Dr. Shiva and her work on climate advocacy? And so she's an Indian environmentalist, eco-feminist, organic regenerative agriculture advocate, and she is also a big supporter of women need to really be in charge when it comes to climate solutions. Because the way that women lead is in terms of forming networks, leading from the side and from behind, and women have the solutions and now need the resources. So we're no longer debating about okay, what are we going to do? Women are telling us this is what we need to do, and we want to work together with everybody to be able to move these solutions forward. So she says we are either going to have a future where women lead the way to make peace with the earth, or we're not going to have a human future at all. You've seen some graphs and maps today already. This is just to give you some context of where we have been and where we are now. So you can see since 2,000 years ago, things have been going at a certain rate, and then they suddenly jumped. So you get a sense that something changed in terms of human activity in the last 200 years. And I think Lulu explained very well what's happened during that time is the issue of industrialization and the burning of fossil fuels. So this is when you look at where our emissions coming from, that's going to be a big contributor to the emissions in the atmosphere right now, which is causing our global warming issue and our climate change issue. That's impacting on so many different areas: food security, human security, migration, and the rest, and gender equality. And you can see the way that this manifests is just in terms of a steady climb in terms of carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere. So when we're talking about climate change, it's about really balance. And right now we're out of balance. And this is just another one to say there are natural fluxes, but you can see, you know, the last little bit, it's been going up and it's not coming back down. But what you can see is this is the issue in the last couple of 100 years. And up until recently, one of the major sources of carbon emissions has actually been from farming, so the way that we do farming. And that's what we talk about at Landcore, is that only in 1960, in the 1960s, did the emissions from fossil fuel actually pass the emissions that were coming from soil cultivation, so the way that we're cultivating the land. Again, as you were saying too, this is coming from industrial farming for the most part. So you have, and this is with the Industrial Revolution as well, that industrialized our industries. It also industrialized the industry of agriculture. And so this is, you know, this is something that has been kind of ongoing in the background and then has just been surpassed by fossil fuels. This is just to give you an idea of where we're at now. Of course, we can't just look at graphs to understand this issue. We have to look at photos. So what are people dealing with around the world? People are dealing with the impacts of climate change a lot in terms of water. So it's really cyclical droughts and flooding issues, and then also not to mention the wildfire issues that we're having here in Canada, and that we have support coming from around the world now to help us here in Canada respond to these wildfires. So it's just to take a step back again and put this in more context. When we talk about the issue of climate change and global warming, this is about the increasing temperature that's heading towards 1.5 degrees and also up to 2 degrees. And Lulu has explained for you what the risks and the impacts on our society will be at that point. But we're dealing with a lot of different kinds of processes that the Earth is going through, especially because of the impacts of human activity. And another one of those which is connected with climate change, but is not totally caused by climate change, is desertification. And this really has to do with land use change. And so this is interconnected with climate, but there are two kind of processes that are going on at the same time. So here's where climate change fits. You can see this is one of 9 of what the Stockholm Resilience Center calls planetary boundaries. So they came up with this framework of planetary boundaries to say, okay, this is really about a balance thing. We have a safe limit on all these different boundaries that we should be aiming to work within and to set up our societies to be able to stay within the green area of those boundaries. So climate change is one. You can see land system change is another, freshwater change as well, biosphere integrity, ocean acidification, and the list goes on. And at the point when it crosses over this line right here, you can see that we're in an overshoot stage. So this is an unsustainable place to be in. So when we look at those boundaries that have already been passed, they all feed into each other, right? So the impacts are going to be multiplying and feeding off of each other. But the thing is, when they're in the green operating area, climate sustainability, sustainable means of farming, is also going to help us deal with the desertification issue. So it really gives us a sense that this is a human management challenge. And humans have caused this issue, and certain humans, right, and other people are now dealing with the impacts of it, and now we need to be able to change our management strategy. So here's a quote that just gives you a sense of how humans interact with and manage land causing desertification and climate issues. So sometimes we think of drought causing bare ground, and we think drought is this thing that's coming down on us because of climate, but we can also cause bare ground and then therefore droughts after that if we leave the land bare. And so this is something it's kind of a mindset shift, but it also gives you an idea that we have the power to unmake this thing, and we have to, right? In the last, I think under 100 years, a third of farmable land has been lost, so this is due to soil erosion. Soil erosion is a huge problem when it comes to food production and food security, and we have to be able to reverse this challenge. So when it comes to also climate change, so just to zoom back in there, if we were to stop burning fossil fuels tomorrow, this is going to be great, but because
Thank you.
The lady in a green skirt.
What were you eating from this side?
Yeah.